Honda's 2026 motorcycle lineup just leaked, and it's not what anyone expected. Riders are sounding the alarm. Watch till the end, because what Honda is doing this year might change everything. Don't make the mistake of buying one. Number 7. Honda CBR 600RR. Beneath the fairings of this long-anticipated sport bike sits in a 600 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline 4-cylinder engine that produces approximately 113 horsepower and delivers around 47 pound-feet of torque. That power is routed through a 6-speed gearbox and supported by a twin-spar aluminum frame. The motorcycle weighs in at 419 pounds for the standard version and approximately 434 pounds when equipped with anti-lock braking system. The suspension includes a fully adjustable 41mm inverted Showa-Big piston fork up front and a unit Pro-Link monoshock in the rear. Front braking is handled by dual radial-mounted 4-piston calipers on floating discs with a disc at the rear. Fuel capacity sits at 4.8 gallons and the seat height is 32.4 inches. Pricing starts at $11,499 for the base configuration. For a model expected to headline Honda's middleweight lineup, this release feels frozen in time. The engine remains mechanically unchanged from previous years, and that shows on the road. Acceleration is respectable but not thrilling, and the bike's throttle response lacks the crispness seen in its competitors. The curb weight, especially when fluids are added, makes the bike feel sluggish compared to rivals like the Yamaha R6 or the Kawasaki ZX-6R, both of which feature more advanced power delivery systems and reduced weight. And while those bikes come packed with modern electronics, this one still relies on analog instrumentation and a sparse electronic suite. Riders expecting traction control, selectable ride modes, or cornering-enhanced anti-lock braking will be disappointed. These features are becoming standard even in lower-cost models from other brands, yet they're conspicuously absent here. Instead, the anti-lock braking system is basic and non-configurable. There's also no quick shifter, no cruise control, and no integrated connectivity for modern navigation or mobile function. The experience is bare bones in ways that are no longer acceptable at this price point. Comfort is another concern. The ergonomics remain extremely aggressive, with low-mounted clip-ons and rear-set foot pegs that push the rider into a hunched, track-oriented posture. That might be great for 10 minutes of fast cornering, but on public roads or longer rides, it becomes a real strain. The narrow seat doesn't help either, and taller riders will likely find the cockpit cramped. Wind protection is limited to the small upper fairing, and there are no available touring accessories to soften the ride. Fuel economy is decent, averaging in the low 40s for miles per gallon, but with a relatively small tank, range is limited. You will find yourself stopping frequently to refuel, especially on spirited rides or highway runs. And when you do stop, the lack of modern features becomes glaring. No adjustable screen, no USB port, and no ride-by-wire means no modern creature comforts at all. Altogether, this is a machine coasting on name recognition. The bones of the bike are still competent, and the overall quality of construction is what you would expect from Honda, but the lack of evolution is hard to ignore. For a brand known for innovation and precision, this offering feels lazy. It will appeal to loyalists who want the same formula they've known for years, but younger or tech-focused riders will likely look elsewhere. We did the research, and these bikes are falling short. If you're thinking about buying one in 2025, make sure to like the video, comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe for more insider analysis on bikes you should avoid. But that was the middleweight. Now, how about something meant for real adventure? Number 6. Honda CRF 1100L Africa Twin ADV 160. Hidden behind the adventure-style fairings, this adventure-infused dual-sport twin-cylinder first made waves as the low-displacement variant of the flagship Africa Twin. Under its bodywork sits a 1,083 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine that outputs approximately 98 horsepower and 73 pound-feet of torque. Honda pairs this with a 6-speed transmission and optional dual-clutch transmission. The curb weight remains substantial at around 511 pounds in the DCT model, with the non-DCT version weighing slightly less. Suspension consists of a Showa 31-inch long travel inverted fork with adjustable spring preload, rebound, and compression at the front, and a Pro-Link rear shock offering approximately 30 inches of travel. Braking comes via a pair of front discs with 4 piston calipers and a rear disc. The fuel tank holds around 4.6 gallons, and seat height is 33.8 inches. Pricing starts at $14,999 for the standard gearbox version, with the DCT model adding roughly $1,500 to that. Though the ADV 160 looks ready for serious off-road exploration, early reviews and rider feedback reveal its limitations. The suspension travel, while serviceable for gravel roads and light trails, is noticeably less than what hardcore off-road competitors offer. Riders tackling deep ruts or steep run-and-jump terrain note the front end lacks confidence, and suspension bottoming is not infrequent during aggressive riding. On paved highways, the ADV 160 exhibits a firm, somewhat unforgiving ride that leaves riders feeling every pothole and rough patch, making long tours less comfortable than expected from a premium adventure touring machine. Despite its market positioning, the twin-cylinder engine does not deliver the performance punch many anticipated. Though peak horsepower and torque numbers are solid, the real-world delivery feels flat, especially in the mid-range where heavier touring bikes already fall short. Acceleration is adequate for highway passing, but overtaking efforts require reaching peak RPM levels more often than on competitors with more flexible, torquey curves. At higher speeds, the ADV 160 tends to wander slightly in crosswinds due to its weight and aerodynamics, and at cruising pace, wind protection is only moderate, with noticeable turbulence around the rider's helmet. Electronics have also drawn criticism. While the model includes selectable ride modes, throttle mapping feels blunt, and traction control offers light intervention rather than confidence-inspiring grip on loose surfaces. The optional dual-clutch transmission smooths gear shifts, but during aggressive off-road use, it can hesitate between ratios, which disrupts momentum. That shift delay may be marginal on tarmac, but on declining terrain or during precise throttle application, it becomes distracting. Ergonomically, the ADV 160 blends street convenience with off-road styling, offering a forgiving upright stance and generous handlebar clearance. However, the seat remains narrow and firm, which discomforts riders on all-day trips. Tall riders cite inadequate knee support, and the rear peg position feels cramped when carrying a pillion or luggage. The windscreen sits adjustable across 3 positions, but still allows buffeting at interstate speeds, especially with a tall rider and luggage aboard. One notable disappointment is fuel range. Though Honda claims about 150 miles per tank, cross-country touring yields closer to 120 miles between fuel stops, less than expected given the tank size. With only 3 gallons usable and firm throttle response, riders find themselves calculating ETA and gas station locations rather than enjoying the scenery. From off-road disappointment to retro regrets, get ready for the next one. Don't waste money on gear that won't last. Check the links below for what we recommend. Solid, proven, and built for real riders. Number 5. Honda Grom. Powered by a 125 cubic centimeter air-cooled single-cylinder 4-stroke engine, the Grom churns out about 9.7 horsepower and 7.7 pound-feet of torque, riding on a curb weight of approximately 227 pounds with anti-lock braking system. It features a 5-speed manual transmission, and suspension is handled by a 31mm inverted telescopic front fork with 3.9 inches of travel and a single rear shock providing 4.1 inches of travel without external adjustability. The setup is tuned for comfort and light urban maneuverability but lacks advanced damping controls. 12-inch wheels, disc brakes at both ends, and a seat height of 30 inches complete the package. Fuel capacity is just 1.6 gallons, and pricing begins around $3,799. However, the disappointment with the Grom lies not in what it is, but in what it fails to become. After nearly a decade of dominance in the pocket bike category, this platform has remained essentially unchanged since its introduction. The same 9.7 horsepower and 7.7 pound-feet of torque feel underwhelming when compared to competitors that now offer electronic fuel injection options, enhanced ABS, and under-seat storage, all for similar price tags. Honda's decision to retain the small 125 cubic centimeter engine and modest power output makes the Grom feel stuck in a time warp, lacking ambition where others are moving forward. Ride quality is acceptable for its segment, but predictable. The inverted fork and rear shock provide a balanced, comfortable ride for urban cruising, but with with limited adjustability, no rebound or compression damping, which impacts control on rough or twisty roads. The narrow handlebars and compact chassis mean the Grom corners briskly, but at a cost. Any rough pavement transmits straight to the rider. On the brakes, the single disc up front and the rear combined with ABS are functional, but stopping distances feel modest, especially when the bike is carrying a rider near its 250-pound recommended load capacity. Space is another limiting factor. A seat height of 30 inches keeps the bike accessible, but the minimal fuel capacity and lack of underseat storage means no room for anything beyond a pair of gloves. You're stopping more often, and without built-in storage, carrying gear becomes an afterthought mission. The small fuel tank means the Grom tops out at around 100 miles per fill under ideal conditions, enough for a short ride, but underwhelming for anything longer. Value is also questionable. Base pricing at $3,599 for the core model and $3,799 for ABS is appealing, but add destination fees, tax, and the cost of aftermarket upgrades to comfort or performance, and the Grom begins to look less like a bargain. Meanwhile, rival mini bikes now include fuel injection and optional ABS at similar or lower prices, bringing better performance and usability to the table. Enthusiasts praise the Grom for starting the mini bike craze, but as Redditors note, they'd make a killing if they electrified this model. With no significant enhancements in power, chassis stiffness, or electronics, no fuel injection on the base model, no underseat USB charging, no traction control. The Grom risk being overshadowed in its own category. Stuck on small bikes? The next one is all about nostalgia and heavy consequences. Number 4. Honda CB 1100. Inside its classic silhouette lies an air and oil-cooled inline four-cylinder engine of 1,140 cubic centimeters, delivering approximately 89 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque. The standard model carries an estimated curb weight of 540 pounds, while the Deluxe or EX version adds about 20 pounds. Fuel is stored in a 4.4-gallon tank. Suspension details include a 41mm telescopic fork up front with adjustable spring preload and about 4.2 inches of travel, paired with dual rear shocks offering similar preload adjustment and about 4.5 inches of travel. Braking duties are handled by twin 4-piston front calipers discs and a rear disc with anti-lock braking system standard on the EX model. Seat height is just under 31 1/4 inches and wheelbase measures roughly 1,490 millimeters. The price for the base model is approximately $12,199, while the EX version adds premium details for around $13,000. For a motorcycle that bears the badge of Honda's storied CB lineage, this offering feels frozen in a nostalgic past. The power is smooth and linear, designed more for comfort than spirited riding. Yet in the modern motorcycle landscape where electronics and rider aids are increasingly expected even on standard bikes, this machine falls short. There is no ride-by-wire throttle system, meaning no traction control, no selectable ride modes, no USB connectivity, and no smartphone integration. Critics note the absence of a slipper clutch, cruise control, or adjustable brake and clutch levers, amenities already common on many rival models at comparable price points. Handling on twisty roads is predictable but unspectacular. The suspension feels soft and compliant, ideal for easy cruising but lacking the adjustability or damping sophistication of more modern forks and shocks. Coupled with the bike's weight, this makes cornering feel leisurely and placid rather than precise. Riders accustomed to sharper handling from newer retro classic bikes will find the CB tireless but uninspiring. Additionally, the steel double cradle frame adds extra pounds compared to lighter aluminum options used by competitors, reinforcing the impression of a motorcycle that is more laid back than lively. Comfort is arguably the bike's strongest suit. Its upright riding position, wide handlebars, and cushioned seat deliver a relaxed posture well-suited to relaxed weekend rides or short commutes. However, that same comfort comes at the cost of wind protection, as the absence of any fairing means more wind blast at highway speeds, a slight at odds with the bike's 4.4-gallon fuel capacity, which can only yield around 130 miles before needing a fill-up. The hard seat and firm suspension may also fatigue taller riders after extended time in the saddle. From a stylistic viewpoint, the model captures a timeless look, complete with retro-styled tank and chrome accents. But the visuals remain the only true upgrade. Despite the air of authenticity, the mechanical components remain largely unchanged from earlier versions. That preservation may appeal to traditionalists, but it undermines Honda's image as an innovator. But nostalgia can bite, especially when Honda applies it to a sports standard. Number 3. Honda CB1000 Hornet SP. At first glance, this machine looks like a serious contender in the premium naked sport category. But the deeper you look, the more its limitations begin to show. Beneath the bodywork lies a 1,035 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline four-cylinder engine producing approximately 114 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. It rides on a twin-spar steel frame with a total curb weight of around 510 pounds. The suspension setup features fully adjustable 43mm inverted Showa big piston forks at the front and a Showa BFRC light monoshock at the rear. Braking duties are handled by dual discs with 4-piston radial-mounted Takiko calipers and a single disc with a 2-piston caliper at the rear. The seat height is 32.3 inches, fuel capacity stands at 4.4 gallons, and pricing begins at $13,499. While it wears the SP badge proudly, the overall package doesn't live up to the expectations typically associated with special performance editions. The engine itself is the same unit found in the base Hornet, offering smooth acceleration and respectable mid-range pull, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table. Performance figures are acceptable, with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time in just over 3 seconds and a top speed electronically limited to around 125 miles per hour. However, it lacks the explosive torquey curve or razor-sharp responsiveness seen in some of its European competitors. The electronics suite is one of the most notable disappointments. At a price point that demands advanced tech, this bike offers only basic anti-lock braking system and a single default ride mode. There is no traction control, no cornering assistance, no wheelie control, and no power mapping customization. Even the instrument cluster, while fully digital, remains basic and lacks features like smartphone connectivity, Bluetooth navigation, or adjustable display themes. Compared to other models in the same class, which offer full-color displays and integrated ride telemetry, the Hornet SP feels behind the curve. Suspension quality has seen a minor upgrade with the Showa-branded components, but the real-world impact is modest. The lack of electronic damping means adjustments must be made manually, which limits flexibility for riders switching between city riding, sport touring, or track days. Front travel sits at approximately 4.7 inches, and the rear shock provides just over 5 inches. Riders have reported that the forks can feel soft under heavy braking, and the rear shock struggles with rebound control during aggressive cornering. The overall handling characteristics are predictable but uninspired. The Hornet SP handles decently on smooth roads, but once conditions change, potholes, wet pavement, or high-speed twisties, it reveals its limitations. At over 500 pounds, this bike doesn't offer the flickable feel many riders expect in the naked sport category. It takes more effort to lean in, more time to correct mid-corner, and far more rider input to keep things composed at speed. Without electronic aids to help balance things out, that effort falls entirely on the rider. Fuel efficiency is reasonable for its class, averaging around 46 miles per gallon. With a tank capacity of 4.4 gallons, you can expect a range of roughly 200 miles per fill-up under mixed riding conditions. But the limited range isn't helped by the lack of cruise control or advanced rider assist features. There's no comfort tech like heated grips, adjustable levers, or wind deflectors. You get the basics, and that's it. Speaking of SP, but more sting than swagger, next up hurts even more. Number 2. Honda CB750 Hornet. Under the aggressive styling of this anticipated street fighter lies a 750 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine delivering approximately 89 horsepower and around 59 pound-feet of torque. It rides on a tubular steel diamond frame and weighs in at an official curb weight of 460 pounds. Suspension is handled by a front 37mm Showa separate function fork. Big piston chamber with 4.7 inches of travel, while the rear rides on a Showa monoshock with preload adjustability and about 4.6 inches of travel. Braking comes from a dual front disc setup with 2 piston calipers and a single rear disc. The front tire measures 120 by 70 ZR17 and the rear fits a 180 by 55 ZR17. Seat height is 32.1 inches and fuel capacity is 3.7 gallons. Suggested retail price starts at $9,299. Despite its name and design that evokes pure Street Fighter energy, the CB750 Hornet falls short in several critical areas. First, the torque delivery, designed to give riders a punch in the mid-range, feels flat and inconsistent. Test rides reveal that throttle response can be jerky at lower RPM, particularly when cracking the throttle from a stop or during city acceleration. That rubber band sensation between 2,000 and 4,500 RPM disrupts the feeling of control and makes corner exits feel uncertain. In a segment where rivals offer precise throttle mapping and crisp, torquey bands, the Hornet's delivery feels unsophisticated and frustrating for riders who demand finesse. Another glaring issue comes with the electronics and instrument setup. The full-color thin-film transistor dash, though a welcome addition, is noticeably laggy. Inputs to toggling ride modes or navigating menus take too long to register, making it feel sluggish when riding dynamically. This lag becomes more pronounced in cold temperatures where the interface can freeze for a second or two before responding. Additionally, the dash is limited to only 2 ride modes, road and rain, and lacks any form of traction control or wheelie management. In a market where even entry-level Street Fighters offer customizable ride profiles, lean angle-sensitive ABS and rider aids, the Hornet's electronics feel basic and underdeveloped. The steel frame platform, while rigid and durable, contributes to less agile handling. At 460 pounds, the bike struggles to change lines quickly or feel light through turns. Riders report a tendency for the front end to push wide under hard braking, and the bike doesn't lean in with a nimble attitude. High-speed stability is solid, but corner-to-corner transitions lack polish, adding to the sense that this bike was tuned for comfort rather than performance. Handling also lacks excitement. Body position is upright and relaxed, limiting feedback to the rider, and foot peg height doesn't invite aggressive, lean angles. While this posture suits daily commuting, it fails to match the Street Fighter image the Hornet's styling suggests. Comfort is average but nothing more. The seat is broad and cushioned, yet the upright bars offer minimal wind protection at speed. Riders exceeding highway pace report fatigue setting in after just an hour on the road, and the lack of a fly screen or wind deflector amplifies wind blast. Suspension tuning leans soft and absorbs bumps well, but at the expense of dynamic precision. Hard cornering will push the bike past its compliant suspension limits, creating a feeling of wallow rather than grip. But all these individual letdowns aren't even the worst part. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and avoid regret, hit that like button, share your opinions in the comments, and subscribe for more bike reviews that get to the heart of the issue. Number 1. Honda NT 1100 DCT. Underneath the touring fairing and luggage-ready design, this sport touring model is powered by an 1100 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, producing approximately 98 horsepower and delivering about 73 pound-feet of torque. Equipped with Honda's dual-clutch transmission, it has a claimed wet weight of 525 pounds. The chassis features a steel diamond frame with a wheelbase of 61.4 inches. Suspension is handled by 37mm Showa separate function fork. Big piston chamber in the front with adjustable spring preload and rebound damping, offering approximately 5 inches of travel. At the rear, a Showa monoshock provides around 5 inches of travel with preload adjustment. Braking is courtesy of dual floating discs with 4-piston Nissan calipers up front and a single disc with a dual-piston caliper at the rear. Tire sizes are 120 by 70 ZR17 up front and 180 by 55 ZR17 at the rear. Seat height is 31.5 inches and fuel capacity stands at 5.5 gallons. Its MSRP is $13,499. Outwardly, this machine appears to tick every box for a competent sport touring bike. Still, early ride reviews from Europe paint a different picture. At its wet weight of 525 pounds, the NT 1100 DCT feels noticeably heavy when fully fueled and laden with luggage. Riders describe the steering as numb. It lacks the responsiveness expected in twisty country roads or rapid lane changes. Instead of a lively connected ride, it feels more like a cushy, uninspired cruiser. That level of heft and vague front-end feel undermine confidence, particularly when compared to class leaders like the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT or Kawasaki Versys 1000 LT, which weigh significantly less and offer sharper handling. A second criticism lies with the dual-clutch transmission itself. Honda's system shifts smoothly at steady speeds, yet during rapid upshifts or downshifts, especially in sport mode, it hesitates noticeably. This latency can be jarring mid-corner or when overtaking. Without quick-reacting gear changes, riders must choose between the convenience of DCT and the precision of a traditional 6-speed manual transmission. Honda's DCT, as implemented, forces a compromise. Beyond these mechanical and handling concerns, the electronics and features of the NT 1100 DCT are merely adequate. It includes standard anti-lock braking system, 2 ride modes labeled Road and Rain, and basic traction control. Unlike competitors in its segment, there is no electronic suspension adjustment, no lean angle sensitive braking, no semi-active damping, and no cruise control option, even though it is positioned as a touring machine. The instrument panel blends an analog tachometer with a small monochrome digital display. There is no full-color thin film transistor screen, no smartphone pairing, and no onboard GPS navigation. Features now expected in this price range. Fuel efficiency is respectable, with mileage averaging around 50 miles per gallon. That theoretically gives a touring range of nearly 300 miles, but the need to stop early because of fatigue or steering effort often nullifies that advantage. Without cruise control or rider assistance features, highway runs become more tiring than they need to be. The ultimate disaster? Honda is rolling out 7 underwhelming models this year. Each comes with a deficiency. Too conservative in performance, too heavy in weight, too outdated in technology, or too steep in price. This scattered effort dilutes dealer focus, confuses consumers, and undermines any promise of electrification-forward progress. With no hero model to rally behind, it feels more like a series of safe bets than a bold ride into the future. We've broken down why Honda's 2026 lineup isn't what it seems. Don't make the mistake of buying one of these bikes. Do your homework first. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest motorcycle insights. See you in the next video.